Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
Hey everyone, we're back with another episode and another amazing lifter guest, special guest, because I always say special. And I won't use the word legendary just yet because she's still so young, but it's coming. It's going to come. I can see it. I can already see it. So today we have Amber Hansen, who is, I actually just got to meet in person at the Swiss conference not too long ago.
Finally.
And she's a lot shorter than I thought she was.
What the hell? Everyone said.
Well, the funny thing is I did Jimmy Kolb the other day, too, and I haven't met Jimmy in person, but I heard he's short, too.
Jimmy's my height, I think.
Yeah, but he's super broad from what I hear.
Truly. That dude's got issues with doors, I'm sure. I love him to death. Holy crap.
So, God, where to start?
Right?
Yeah, because I just, like I said, I just watched your, and everybody should watch that one, too. Go watch the Table Talk with Dave Tate. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Because Amber was on there just a couple weeks ago. And I don't want to cover all the same stuff, but even as he's going over stuff, I'm like, ask this, ask that, ask this.
What about this?
So I love watching your Instagram because there's so much different stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I really think that's a good thing. Kind of in my prime, like we were in this super heavyweight insanity mode. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like as big as possible, as strong as possible. And like, we all stopped doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I look back at that now and I'm like, maybe that wasn't good for us. And then when I started running again and stuff, because I'm my biggest days competing or not, I'm not going to do that again. I've already given that much. I started running again and I'm like, oh my God, like I used to, and I had a funny conversation with Dave about this. Dude, I'm in great shape for 380 pounds. Like, it doesn't even make sense, dude. That's the stupidest sentence I've ever heard.
That's incredible. Okay.
And then when I started running, I'm like, oh my God. So like all my clients that I train now, even my powerlifters, I'm like, dude, I'm not going to let you get out of shape. So I see a lot of the stuff that you do, and I'm like, man, I think she's on to something there. Mm-hmm. So, like, where did your athletic background start?
So I did sports as a kid growing up. I grew up figure skating, and then got into the high school sports, track and field, did some pole vaulting. I've always been like this. I've always done like a little bit of everything. And I really, really enjoyed just learning everything. So I did pole vault, did high jump, did a little bit of cheerleading, did a little bit of basketball, which I sucked at, but I really liked the team aspect of it. And then got out of high school and college, roller derby, and then powerlifting. So I've always done something.
How high did you pole vault?
I think I was at like 10'6", 10'6" or 10'8" was my best.
That still seems pretty good to me.
That's good or not. Like I went to States in Ohio, which was pretty cool. I snapped a bunch of poles because I was still not a small lady in high school. So I had to go on the poles, what they are is they're rated for your weight. And the lower that you hold down, the heavier it can handle. So like the higher up you're holding on the pole, the more bend it has basically. So I would have to have like a super heavy pole and then hold down like 2 feet so it could handle my weight.
Really?
Yeah.
I had two of my buddies were good friends in high school were pole vaulters. Yeah. And I thought, man, if there was such a thing as a 270-pound pole vaulter, that looks like a whole lot of fun.
We can do it. We can make this happen.
So if you went to state, I mean, you must have been pretty good at it. How was the figure skating thing?
Figure skating was like really little. Like I think I started when I was 5 and then did it up through like 6th grade. So I was like 11 or 12. And then that was a lot of fun. I really liked jumping and spinning. I didn't really like the footwork or like the fancy jazz hands or whatever. I was uh I was always like in trouble for not being graceful enough. Surprise. And
Graceful and powerlifting. I mean, they totally go together.
yeah, absolutely.
So in high school, you kind of, you did a little bit of everything, which is kind of funny because I think nowadays, like all my nieces and nephews that do sports and all my buddies' kids that do sports, it's like you do one sport now. And I don't think that's good for kids. I think they need to do a lot of different stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I took the time. It was cool because I moved in with my dad and my stepmom in high school, and they were like, "Go figure out what you like to do. Like, whatever. Like, just figure it out." And I wanted to try everything, so I didn't really have that opportunity beforehand. So I just jumped into whatever I thought was going to be fun. And I think track and field was the one I had the most success at. And that was like my most serious one. And then basketball was just like a fun off-season thing. And then cheerleading was just cheerleading.
Yes, it's not even really a sport, is it? I guess it is because they do have competitions for it. So,
like doing the flips and stuff was fun, but like, I don't know. It was just something to like fill a season for me.
Mm-hmm. What did you do in track? You did pole vault. You just posted a picture of you doing I think you were doing long jump or something.
Yeah, I did long jump my freshman year. I wasn't very good at that. And then I was a lot better at high jump, pole vault, and then I was a sprinter. So I would do the 100, the 200, the 400, and those relays. And then I messed around with shot and disc a little bit. Not much, though. I wish I would have done more there, honestly.
Yeah, based on your powerlifting numbers, I would have liked to have seen that. But there's still such a thing as the Scottish Highland Games.
I have done a Highland Games.
Have you?
And it's so much fun. Yes.
It was, I just posted a video like my first Highland Games, and I ended up doing, I don't know how many I did. I ended up for 2 years, I was doing quite a bit of them. Yeah. And I may still do some Masters Highland Game stuff.
Let's go.
Because it was a blast. It was totally different for me after doing powerlifting for so long, which I say powerlifters are athletes. Like, I think if you train properly, you look at yourself as an athlete, but it's not like it's not like this movement. And having powerlifting for so long and then going into Highland Games, it was like, holy shit, like I actually get to move and I actually get to throw something as hard as I can. It was a blast. I had a lot of fun doing that.
Oh yeah, I'll do one with you. Let's pick one.
Okay. So now,
closet.
I was just talking about my kilts the other day because I got like 6 kilts, and now they're all way too big on me.
Oh man.
Because I'm not 385 pounds anymore.
You got to get a new kilt.
They're really comfortable. I know that sounds kind of weird, but
they sure are. Lots of ventilation.
So then you went into military in the Air Force. Uh-huh. So in high school, you were in ROTC?
No, I was just a normal high school student. My school didn't have ROTC. I joined that when I went to undergrad. So I went to Bowling Green State University, Ohio, joined ROTC, did my undergrad, and then commissioned. So
when you joined, you went into the Air Force and then went into college, or how'd that work?
So I was in that commissioning program to get into the military the entire time I was in college. So freshman to senior year of college, I was also doing military stuff to like prepare me for active duty.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually teach now. So I work with a university here in Dayton, Wright State, and I'm doing the same thing, teaching those kids how to be officers.
Oh, okay. That's kind of interesting.
Full circle.
I got questions about that, but let's skip through.
Okay.
So when you were in college, were you doing any sports?
I did like club track. So I did like a little bit of pole vaulting early on. And then like ROTC was like, we had PT 3 times a week and then all of my classes and everything. So I was like, you know what? Let's focus on that. It just took up too much time. So I didn't do any sports in college.
Did you miss it?
Oh, for sure. I really miss the competitive aspect of things.
So then once you got into, I'm kind of taking a quick trip through your life from what I've heard. So then once you're in the military, you moved to New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like New Mexico?
I fucking hated New Mexico.
Did you really?
I loved my job there, and it was cool. Like West Texas is cool. I spent a lot of time in Albuquerque and Amarillo and Lubbock, but I lived in Clovis, New Mexico, and you're from you're closer to it than I am now, but it's not a great town. It sucks. There's not shit to do. It smells like cow poop.
What did you do there? What were you doing for the military when you were there?
So I was working with the RPAs, so remotely piloted aircraft, so the drones basically. And then I was out there, I think I was there from 2012 to 2014.
So you were flying drones? What were you doing?
No. I was just like on the support team, really, like a lot of admin and leadership stuff and like care and feeding of people, making sure that all of those folks were good to go and that they could like do their mission.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
So
the whole point of that little tidbit, which is just me digging into my own curiosity, was to get to roller derby. Because that's where you started roller derby, right?
Yeah, I started.
So if it's this podunk little town, how the hell do they have a roller derby team?
I know. I was freaking mind blown, and it was awesome. So roller derby is really big in Texas, and we were close to Texas. We were right on the border. So I think it just bled over into New Mexico, and we had a league there. It was really small. We played Albuquerque. We played West Texas Roller Dolls, which was my team eventually. We played Amarillo. We played Alamogordo. Like, there's a decent amount of teams out there.
So, I mean, you had to be, I'm assuming you were skating and stuff. You didn't just like, oh, hey, I haven't skated in 10 years. I can do roller derby. Like, I mean, were you inline skating or nothing? You were doing no skating.
I wasn't doing shit. And I made friends with some folks and I was like, you know what? And they did it. I think one of my best friends to this day I met during roller derby, and her husband worked with me like in one of our sister units, and I found out about it that way. And I was like, you know what? I need something to occupy the time and to like scratch the competitive itch. And I haven't I've never skated on roller skates. So skates are like the quads, so 4 wheels on the foot. And I did figure skating. I had a pair of roller skates as a kid, but I never really messed with them. And I was like, you know what? It can't be that hard. It was. But I threw on a pair of skates and was sick. I get to hit people on skates. This sounds great. Let's go. And it was.
That's pretty much why I played football. I'm like, wait a minute, I get to hit people and I don't get in trouble and I actually get rewarded for it?
Exactly.
This is great.
Yeah, people cheer about it. Let's go.
So how long did it take you to be able to skate decent where you could hit somebody and not just like fall over?
I mean, it didn't take that long. I had to acclimate to like the different feel of how the wheels were displaced versus like a blade or an ice skate. But oddly enough, I was more stable on roller skates than I ever was on roller blades, just because that like surface area, there was more contact with the floor. So it didn't take me long. And then they also had like a really good training program there where like basically take someone who has never even had roller skates on their feet and turn them into a skater and into a player in like a season, which is pretty cool.
I could challenge them on that, I think.
I mean, not everyone did it, but
I ride BMX bikes because when I was a kid, my brother was a skateboarder, and I was like, hell with that, dude. This bike's way easier for me.
yeah, bikes are freaking cool.
So are you pretty athletic then? Did you say?
I'd say like every time I try and do something athletic, like, yeah, it'll be a little clunky at first, but I usually pick it up pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
My hand-eye coordination sucks because I can't see that well. So if it involves like a ball or something, I'm not great, but like full contact, yeah, pretty decent.
Okay, so then you go from New Mexico and your roller derby. How long did you compete in roller derby?
I was there, so pretty much most of the time that I was there. So maybe I think I joined in like 2012, so maybe 3 or 4 years.
Okay. And then from there you went back to Columbus for work?
Yep, I got stationed in Dayton, Ohio for work. I think that was 2015.
So like, what is that? I can't think. Now we're in 2023, so like 8 years ago.
Oh God.
And then so you picked up roller derby there too, right?
I didn't actually. I wanted to join the team in Columbus because Columbus actually has a really badass team. The Ohio Roller Girls are freaking sick. And Cincinnati has a really good team too. And I looked at both of those when I got there, and their leagues were just so much bigger and so much more serious. And I would have to drive an hour to practice and then back an hour. And with work and what I was doing, I traveled a lot for work, and it just like I couldn't make it happen, unfortunately.
So then how was that gap from going from roller derby to powerlifting? How'd that happen?
That was pretty much instant when I got to Ohio. So I started lifting a little bit when I was out in New Mexico with some of the other derby players, because we were like, we should probably get strong, because the stronger we are, the better we can hit people.
Mm-hmm.
So we started doing our squats or benches and deadlifts and like cleans, like CrossFit type of stuff. And then I got to Ohio, and then that's when I found the dirty gym out here, joined that. And I had no idea what I was stepping into, that it was like an actual like barbell club, and they had a powerlifting team, and the team competed in the same meets together and everything.
But you weren't unfamiliar with powerlifting because of your dad.
Right. I knew exactly what it was. And then I knew as soon as I walked into that gym and joined the team that my dad was going to shit his pants.
Did he tear up a little bit on that one?
Oh, I did. He's the biggest freaking softie in the entire world. And I send him any sort of lifting video. He comes to my meets. He's like #1 fan. That guy rules.
I didn't start powerlifting until I was 27.
Yeah.
So some of my biggest meets, I was like in my 30s. And my parents would travel to go to my meets still.
That's so cool. I love that.
It's actually funny because I'm digitizing some now and posting them, and I hear my mom or my dad like yelling in there.
That's so cool.
It's kind of funny. So then how you were in your late 20s probably then, right? Or mid 20s?
27, by the same age as you started.
I think that's a good thing. Like I actually think it was good that I started later and kind of got rid of some of my stubborn hard-headedness, some of it, by the time I started there.
Yeah, I'm with you there. My dad had always like tried to get me into it and stuff. He's like, you could really do something with this. You should probably look at it. And I was like, nah, I'm good. Because I didn't want him to be like, for whatever reason, I was such a little shit when he would be like, all right, we're going to the gym, we're going to lift. And he would try and tell me something. And I would be like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about, which he did. I was just like a little asshole. So that's why. And then on the flip side too, I was like, ew, that's for boys. I don't want to get too bulky. I just want to tone. Because I was already like a bigger girl and I was like, I don't want to do that. And I was in like high school.
But it was
And now I'm, let's go, let's get big.
It was kind of different back then too, though, because I remember back in the day when I was competing, and Laura Phelps is a friend, and like there wasn't that many women even back then, and I think it's growing a lot more, which I kind of like seeing because I've seen a lot of women like respond so great to lifting, just self-esteem and personality, and like I think that's so awesome. But yeah, I imagine when you were a kid, it ain't like there's that many women doing it.
No, I think David asked me, he's like, do you remember those meets you went to with your dad? If you saw any women lifting? And I don't think that I did. I feel like I would have remembered if I did, and that would have stuck with me somehow.
Right.
Because it was just a group of sweaty dudes that smell like protein farts.
Meets, honestly, like I love training and I love lifting and I'll do it till I'm dead.
Mm-hmm.
But powerlifting meets are kind of fucking boring.
Yeah, they suck. Not a spectator sport.
Yeah.
They're getting better, but still.
If I'm lifting, it's cool. When I'm handling people and stuff, I'm like, man, like my ADD kicks in and I'm like, there's, especially the local meets, if I'm not lifting, you'll usually find me in the corner where all the kids are and I'm playing with the kids. Because I'm so bored out of my mind. I'm like, let's go wrestle with the kids because at least that's fun.
You guys, I got to just keep a deck of cards on you or something. You guys want to play Go Fish?
Yeah. It's so boring. I can't believe it's not still on TV or still on TV because it actually used to be on TV. Because I go, powerlifting's a great like TV sport.
Yeah.
Where you can just show the exciting stuff and then cut out all the boring shit.
Yeah, you can snip it all out. And there's always someone lifting at any one point in time.
Yeah. So you go to the dirty gym.
Mm-hmm.
How long before your first meet?
It was like a few months. It wasn't very long. So I got there, joined the powerlifting team, and the coach was like, yeah, we're all doing a meet on this day. And that was pre-COVID when we used to run our own meets at the gym. And it was just at the gym. So it was all our own equipment, it was home turf basically. Mm-hmm. And then I was in my first meet within a few months.
And you totaled 1330 in your first meet, I think. Is that right?
No way. There's no way.
No way?
1330 is like my current total.
Hold on, let me get my guy over here, my side guy. Yeah. Hey, look this up for me. Like Rogan. I swear open powerlifting
9 something.
Said your first one. The first one they have is 2016.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And it says your totals 826.
Oh, that sounds better.
Oh, 1330 was your first gear total.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
But that was in 2018. That was in 18.
Yeah, I just made that connection because I was like, oh yeah, 1330 is like, I'm pushing 1400 on my raw side. And that was 1330 was my first gear total. That's crazy. Jesus.
But still though, because I was kind of looking at your numbers, and I should tell everybody your best raw squat right now. I hate this raw and rap bullshit. To me, raw is raps.
Yeah.
So your best squat is 529 raw, 529, 341 bench, 545 deadlift, and like 1377. And your multiply is 800, 475, and 556 for an 1805 total.
Yep.
And you did do an unlimited bench of 615, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I got a little heartburn about that one, but it's stuck.
And what weight do you usually compete at? You've been pretty steady, haven't you, throughout your...
Yeah, I started out in the low 181s, and then I spent time going back and forth between 181 and 198, and I just started doing 220s because if I'm not going for a world record, or if I'm not trying to win money, I'm not cutting weight. Stupid.
I cut for one. My very first competition, I had to cut like 2 pounds to get to 275. And even that, I was like, this is stupid. Like, there's a class where I don't have to do this. I'm just going to eat more.
Walk in and be strong.
So even over these, like, I'm always curious to see how quickly people gain. Mm-hmm. And basically over my career, my very first meet was 1700. My highest total was 27. And it took me about 10 years to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you can ever put 75 to 100 pounds on your total a year, that's pretty goddamn good. Yeah. And I see like a lot of newer lifters and some of my listeners. I'm like, dude, people get pissed off when they're actually doing good because their expectations are insane.
Yeah.
Like guys are like, I want to bench 500 raw within a year. And I'm like, it's not going to happen, dude. Unless you have some serious genetics, it's not going to happen.
You got to work for some years for that one.
Yeah. And I mean, you've like going through, especially your open powerlifting thing, it's like your numbers just steadily have been pretty steady, just going up the whole time. So let's talk. So you get into it, you do your first meet. Mm-hmm. How was that?
I had no idea what to expect. I had a blast and I was absolutely hooked after that.
Did your dad go to your first one?
Yeah, I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did. Him and my stepmom showed up and they were just absolutely, he was specifically so stoked about it. And then, yeah, I didn't bomb, which I was very afraid of because I was like, where's squat depth? What is this? What do I have to do? And I think I missed like commands or something on my bench and my squat on my openers. Mm-hmm. And I was, wait, they tell you some shit like that. You have to wait for them to tell you to do it.
So did they have to talk you into doing your first meet?
Oh no, not at all.
They were like, hey, there's a competition. You're like, all right, I'm game.
Exactly. That's exactly how it went. Cause that's like where the team sport mentality kicked back in for me, because they were like, welcome to the powerlifting team. Here are your teammates. You train together, you compete together. The next meet is this date. And I was like, cool, I'm doing this with my team. No questions asked.
That's interesting. I hate team sports. Hate them.
Yeah. I love them.
I actually quit football my senior year, like halfway through my senior season, because I'm like, that's it. I can't handle this team shit. And I just started throwing the shot put like right then, like the next day.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I can't handle this. But the funny thing is when I started getting big in powerlifting and I made my own team, it was like, well, wait a minute, like this actually works. Like this is actually cool.
Yeah, when you curated it yourself.
Yeah, and I got to pick, and I mean, we've kicked a lot of people off of the team over the years. Because it was like, if you're not a benefit to the team, you're gone.
Yeah, like, sorry, you need to be value added. If not, like, hit the bricks, bro.
It'll be a value to you, but you got to be a value to it too.
Yeah, exactly. It's a give and take the entire time.
And that actually, powerlifting's funny because like over my career, I've seen so many teams that end up falling apart.
Yeah.
Or people come and go, and then there's all these, even on the West Coast, there was all these splits all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, basically my core team, I still see those guys all the time. Like they're still like family. Like we argued and bickered like everyone else, but we never split up. Like we were always there.
Yeah, exactly.
I never understood some of the egos and all that shit that can happen in powerlifting.
Yeah.
Never made sense to me.
We have all of these like, not that there's anything wrong with wanting to like train solo, but like there's something special and something next level about having even just a training partner to push you, or for you to chase, or for them to chase you. It kind of like, it lights the fire under your ass a little bit so that you have something to work towards. And also accountability. Like a lot of times people don't feel like, oh, I just don't feel like it, or oh, I'll push it to tomorrow or whatever. Like, no, I have a partner or a team that needs me there to spot them and help them and load and hand off and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm accountable for them just like they are for me. So I'm going to be there.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm a freak. Like I honestly have great sessions alone, and there's times where I love training alone because I'll go completely insane.
Same.
But at the same time, I do realize that a lot of people like to train together. And when I train my clients, like I have one now where I hooked two of my female clients up because they're both like they wanted to train with somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think it really helps a lot of people. And even in like you mentioned it on Dave's, like if you want to train in multi-gear by yourself, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think it does. I think having that team aspect and having the little competitions and like I love I have a young lifter, Jake, he's 14, and I put him in with a couple of my older guys. Yeah. And I think it actually works really well because it kind of brings him out a little bit. And then my older guys are like, oh, cool, dude, we got this young guy to start pushing us. And like, I mean, I think I can see where it really works. I'm just kind of weird where it's like, I don't give a shit. If I got guys to train with, cool. If I don't, cool. I don't care. Like, I'm going to do what I do anyway.
Yeah, I can go back and forth. It depends on what I'm doing. Like I just did that Smolov stint and I did that solo by myself and it was great. Mm-hmm. And I didn't need anyone to help me either. And I just kind of like went through the motions and like had a lot of like internal reflection during those sessions, which I liked a lot. But yeah, like if I'm putting gear on, like I need people.
It's hard. I'm playing with that now because I did that thing at the Olympia, that rep thing, which went horribly bad. But now having a shirt on and going, dude, I can't like unrack like 700-800 pounds. Like this sucks. And then trying to learn new shirts and stuff. So I had one of my buddies came out for a little while and then he just moved. So I'm like, shit, I got to find somebody else to train with. Right. So when you got into gear, like what's the first thing you put on? Like, I know it's different. Like some guys are like, hey, like I'll have them start with briefs. I go, let's just get a pair of briefs and then work them into a suit. But I know guys that would just throw people into shit.
Yeah, I was in briefs for quite a while before I put a suit on or a shirt on.
And how did you like it when you first did it?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much. Just like the pressure and being able to overload and like feeling good, like not feeling sore. Like, you know, there's a difference between a soreness that you feel in a raw workout or like bodybuilding versus the soreness you feel in like a multiply thing. It's just, you feel fatigued, but you're not like, I don't know, like having trouble walking up steps.
Yeah. So I think multiply is more of a head game.
Yes.
And I think you need to be a little crazy and a little insane to really excel at it.
Yeah.
And I know that I think that's a personality thing where I always get frustrated with the people that are like, oh, you're a raw lifter. Oh, you're a multiply lifter. Like, dude, who gives a shit, man? We're all lifting. Like, who cares?
All powerlifting. Settle down.
But I think there's personalities that work better with each one.
Yes.
And I did multiply because in my day, that's where the best of the best were. That's what they were doing. So that's what I was going to do because that's who I wanted to compete against.
Yep.
So I really didn't have an option like you guys have an option today. There's some crazy raw guys right now. And then look at Cole. Every time I watch Jimmy's videos, I'm just like, what the fuck? How does he do that?
He's amazing.
So do you think you like did well with that mental side of multiply where it's like, dude, okay, I didn't hit depth. Well, I got to put more weight on. So what? Let's put more weight on.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I really loved about multiply is because you couldn't just like muscle your way out of things, but you could strategize your way out of them with either tweaking the gear or tweaking the form or the technique or the method. And there was a lot more tinkering that went on when I went into multiply. And I really, really liked that a lot about that side of the sport.
I agree. To me, it was even more technical because your groove wasn't as big. And even with these new shirts, I'm having to change the technique that I used to have, which is super frustrating at one point. But at the other point, I kind of like it. It's like, oh, this is going to challenge me.
New challenge. Yeah. And the margin of error is so small. Like if you like, I don't know, exhale a little bit wrong, you're eating a bar.
Yeah.
Like, that danger factor is really cool in multiply. Not that raw's not dangerous. Like things can definitely go wrong in raw, but like you really have to be on point with your shit when you're in a squat suit and briefs and a pair of wraps and your straps are up.
Mm-hmm. I explain to people all the time. I go, the reason that gear helps you is because it's trying to throw you out of position.
Oh
like,
yeah.
If it lets you, if it lets you hit position easily, it wouldn't help you. It wouldn't do anything. Like, so you're literally fighting the gear the whole time. And if you get loose or you relax or you let it throw you, you're done. Like that, it's gone. And it happens so fast.
Oh God. Yes, it does. It does happen very, very quickly.
But I liked that. I liked, like you said, for me, I always look at multiply was like way harder on my central nervous system.
Yes.
Where raw is like, it's this huge muscle and joint soreness, which I didn't feel that much when I was in gear. It was just like mentally my central nervous system just get toasted.
Yeah. Like I'm wrecked right now because we did heavy multiply squats yesterday and then we had our our equipped bench today.
But you're getting ready for Laura's meet again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Big PRs coming?
That's the plan.
Why else would you do it?
Yeah. I'm not going to not try a PR. I will be lighter this meet though. So
how light?
I'll be in the 198s.
198s. So
yeah.
I didn't look at what records do you have right now? What?
I like all-time world records.
Yeah.
None.
Like Federation world records?
I don't keep track of those. I don't give a shit. All that matters is that top one. I had the unlimited bench record for a while. I'm 10 pounds under the all-time world record squat for 220. So I'm going 198 and I'm going to try and take that at 198, which is 805. And I hit 800. I think I weighed like 206. I just need the gear to fit me right, honestly.
But how does it help with that? Because you wear is that the Inzer suit that straps up the sides?
Yes.
That was after my day, so I never had one of those on.
Yeah. Those are wild.
How hard is it to adjust? Do you re-strap it every time, or do you strap it up and go, here's where I want it?
Yeah, so like those ones have like string panels on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever's like lacing you in, like you tell them, hey, I want my hips super tight. I don't want my ribs super tight. And then I need my legs a little less tight than the hips. And you like figure out what you like based on that.
So, but you redo it like every competition or every time you wear the suit?
Every time you wear the suit, yeah.
So how do you get it close to the same though?
You make sure the same person laces you up. That's as close as you get. And also, like, you know what right feels like. And it's not hard. It wasn't hard for me to just go and like pull where I needed pulled.
Right. That's interesting.
And now I do. So that'll be interesting.
You have a new suit?
Yeah. So I'm with Anderson Powerlifting. And they're a Titan supplier. So I got a Boss suit.
They still make the Boss suit? I had a Boss suit way back in the day.
Yeah. I'm trying to make that work. It sucks because I'm shaped the way that I'm shaped. And like, I wish I could just get a custom suit, but I had to but they had to get me a suit that was super big and it fit my legs really well, but the whole torso was just like a baggy tee. So I'm working with like, Rob Farrell and Tiffany over at F8 or Fate to work some customization magic on that thing.
I actually hated custom stuff.
Really?
Yeah, because once I wore it out, I'm like, okay, now I got to try to get a new custom thing. So I always figured if I buy off the shelf and it's the same all the time, I know exactly what I'm have to work with.
Yeah, that's true.
But
That's a good way of looking at it.
I would always go different. Like I liked my briefs really tight and
Mm-hmm.
my suit a little loose.
Yeah.
Because I would have the same thing. Like my legs were so big at that time that man, it would be so tight around my thighs, but the hip wouldn't be what I wanted.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, I'll go tighter with my briefs for my hips, and then a little looser on the suit.
Yeah.
But like you said, that was a fun part of the game to me, trying to figure all that stuff out, and then
Yeah.
learning what you liked
Mm-hmm.
and what you could get the best out of. Like there's a lot to it. Like people think just throw
A
on that
lot.
gear and this is going to happen. It's like that's not the case.
I wish it was the case. I'm over here playing dress up every time I go into the gym, trying to figure out, okay, that was good. That needs more there. And also like keeping your body weight steady. Like if you're too bloated one day, or if you didn't eat well the day before or enough, like that will change your whole training session.
Well, I went to a couple competitions, well, more than a couple, where I'd come in 5 pounds heavy, and it was like, oh shit, we got to adjust my bench shirt. Or like
Yep.
hitting depth got ridiculous. I've had a couple meets where I'd pull my briefs down like way below my torso because I couldn't hit. There's no way I could hit depth.
Yep. It'll change everything, which is one of the reasons I think it's cool and it's so difficult.
Do you have a preference on type of lifting, competing?
Oh, equipped lifting for sure. Just, I just enjoy, I like personally enjoy it more.
Yeah.
It's more fun. I like that tinkering aspect. I love the overload. Like having 800 pounds on my back is fucking fun. Like it's scary and it's a good time. Or even like the 600 or the 500, the 400, like over your face. And you're like, what's going to happen? Are we going to do this? No.
Do you know why I hate deadlifting?
Why?
Because you just let the bar go.
Yeah, I know.
It's like what fear factor? There's no, if it gets heavy, I just let go of it. Like
yeah, that's it.
I actually like the idea of getting crushed, or like if I mess up, man, this could go seriously wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And deadlifting, yeah. I loved deadlifting when I first started out. Like that was my thing. I think my first deadlift was almost 400 at that meet or something close. And everyone
Really,
was like,
that's pretty crazy. Sumo or conventional?
conventional.
God, that's a big deadlift for a girl. Like
Yeah.
at her first meet.
Yeah.
So
That's,
you only liked it though because you were good at it.
that's the only reason I liked it. 100%. I only liked it because I was good. And then when I started getting better at squatting and benching and my deadlift didn't go, like it just progressed slower than the other two. And then it started hurting more than the other two. It's like, this sucks. That's where I'm at now. I'm like, I hate deadlifting, but I got to do it. It's part of the sport.
So what type of training do you do? I think I've heard you say it's kind of conjugate.
Yeah, I would categorize it. I guess if we want to put a label on it, it would be just like concurrent periodization.
Mm-hmm.
So like raising multiple different aspects of athleticism at the same time for a certain goal. And we use everything. So right now, like I just got off a small squat program. I've done very traditional like West Side Conjugate. I've done Shako programs. I've done like just bench only programming. So, or even like CrossFit type of stuff. So all of those different things like combined. And right now we're doing 2 upper days a week, 2 lower days a week, focusing on all of the equipped lifts. Obviously, I'll have one heavy squat day where the intensity is very high, and then a more dynamic looking squat day. And then on my raw bench day, I'll also do my deadlifts there, which mind blown. We're going to be like, what? You're going to deadlift on your bench day? Yes, I am. Just because that's where it makes the most sense in the week to recover from. And it's a lot of communication with my coach and like very specific to me. So it's hard to be like, yes, this is what I run, when I run what works for me. And it's not like, it doesn't fit into any sort of like box or category right now.
That's pretty advanced thinking, though, in terms of what a lot of lifters do.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people that are like, I like so-and-so, I'm going to do what they do. And I go, that makes no sense, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you like them or not in terms of if it works for you.
Exactly. And it's like, I did that for a long time, not liking someone and doing what they were doing, but like those programs, like I did Shaco stuff for almost 2 years.
Did that work for you?
It worked so well.
Really?
But on the raw side, that was before I got into equipment. And then when I got into equipment, it was very much like hardcore, like West Side method, conjugate. And like, I guess technically it's hard to argue too that what I'm doing is not conjugate, because I'm basically just changing certain things to get to where I want to go, if you want to really simplify it.
Well, for me, like, training is pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I even tell my clients all the time, I'm like, I don't know why you're paying me, man. This shit's easy. Like, just do this, this, and this. Like, it's really not that hard. You're overthinking it.
You will get better.
But a lot of people do tend to overthink it, where I'm like, even when I first actually learned conjugate, and I used to read all Louis' stuff, and Louis would confuse me until I actually started talking to him in person.
Yeah.
And so I basically learned from Dave, and I'm like, this is it? It's this simple?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, that's it. I'm like, this is all this shit Louis jammers on about. This is, and he's like, yeah. I go, well, this is like an outline.
Yeah.
Like, this is just, here's some principles to follow. Now make it fit what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
I think too many people get stuck in that to do this exact same thing that everyone else is doing.
Yeah. And they're like, I need to wave this, and then my band tension needs to be 50% of whatever. And I need to do this many pounds of reverse hypers per week in order to get better. Like, yes, there's science behind a lot of that stuff, and a lot of it is like proven, but you have to figure out what works best for you, or hire someone to help you figure that out.
But even that part where it's proven, who is it proven on?
Exactly.
I mean, I know a lot of people, like, when I first started, people are always talking about the Eastern Bloc stuff. And I go, well, wait a minute. I know for a fact that the Germans were picking little children based on their athletic ability. Are you of 1% genetic freak? Then why are you trying to train like them?
Yeah. Or the Bulgarian, like, look at Smolov.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Yeah.
There's a pile of dead bodies out in the back of people who couldn't make it through that program.
Yeah, but you think you can do it.
Yeah. And it is freaking tough. And I modified it for myself for that same reason. And you can, like, everything is modifiable. And that's the thing that I think trips people up, or they just like latch on to something very specific and they're like, I have to do it this way, or I have to train this many times a week. I'm like, no, you don't. Turn your week into a 9-day week.
That's 10. One of the biggest things I did with conjugate is I started going, listen, and everybody on my team is just going to shit like every 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I go, so I could take a deload week every 4th week, but I hate the idea of deload weeks. Like, it just drives me nuts. And so I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, if it was up to me, I wouldn't work on a 7-day schedule. Like, I would work 4 and get 4 off, or like I would, like, where did this whole 7-day thing, and why am I training on it?
Yeah.
And one of the best things we did is I started spreading it out, and the more I spread it out, the better everybody on my team got.
Yep.
And it was funny for me because there's this point when I started training where, you know, I'm just trying to pick up all this information. And I think that I remember I started training linear periodization because I would look around me and everybody was doing linear periodization at the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, this doesn't make sense. Like, with my throwing background, I feel like I'm getting slower. That can't be good.
Yeah.
But I kept looking around and I kept questioning myself. I'm like, nope, everyone's doing this. My thinking must be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And until I found Dave, and then I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I've been thinking about doing bands because I had a physical therapy background and I had a throwing background. And I'm like, what if we did something more explosive?
Yeah.
But nobody was, and I didn't trust myself. And it wasn't until I actually met Dave and started following some conjugate stuff. And then it was like this progression of, I got to the point where like, I don't give a shit what anybody's doing. Like, I'm going to trust myself. Do you feel like you kind of went through a progression like that with lifting?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've had the same coach since I started. And he's been really great about teaching me. Dave and I talked about this too, auto regulation. And it's so hard to define that or to teach someone what that means. Like it's almost like they got to figure it out on their own.
I think you do, because I think this was funny because I wanted to talk to you about this. I think this is one of the absolute biggest things and most important things in strength is auto regulation. I mean, first I think is technique. If your technique sucks, everything else is going to suck.
Yeah.
But once you get that down, you're going to come to the point where you need to auto regulate. And that's going to change too, because when you're a new lifter, especially if you're a young lifter, dude, you can beat the crap out of yourself and you're going to make gains.
Yeah, you're going to be fine.
But as you get stronger and stronger, and as your technique gets better and better, that auto-regulating is going to become more and more important. Where even with my young clients, I kind of start explaining auto-regulating, and I'm like, they're not really going to need this for the next 4 years, but I'm going to try to start sinking it in now. That they need to start thinking about this.
Expose them a little bit.
Yeah. And it is hard. It's like, how do you know? And then I always go, okay, there's the people I'm going to have to push that they're always, even if there's a little bit, they're like, oh, I'm overtraining. It's like, no, you're not overtraining. Today you're being a pussy. Like, you need to suck it up. And then there's the guys that you're just always going to be going, dude, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. And I think this is an interesting one between men and women, because despite what society says, I believe men and women are different. And women do not, generally speaking, not all of them, but women generally do not have the male ego.
Yep.
And the male ego is so fucking fragile. Like, if I tell a guy he's overtraining, he gets pissed at me. He's like, I insulted him. And I'm like, I'm not saying you couldn't keep going. I think you were dumb enough and hard-headed enough to keep pushing yourself. But you're not going to make the gains you could be.
Exactly. You're holding yourself back by working too much at this thing. Like, I need you to sleep. I need you to eat. I need you to do these things so that your training matters. Yes.
So you're actually getting what you could get out of it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. That's a funny thing, because so I've coached men and women, and most of the women typically pick up on that. They might not totally grasp auto regulation, but they understand risk versus reward when you explain it to them. And that's something that I have to deal with every single day in the military. And that is has been burned into my brain of, okay, if you do this, then this is going to happen. Is it worth it? And you have to try and weigh that. Well, it might be, because it's going to lead to this, or it might not be. And then taking that and translating that to training, it's hard to explain to people unless they figure it out on their own. Or because, like, I've had stuff where I've failed, or I've overtrained, or I've undertrained, and I learned the hard way. And people before me have also learned the hard way, but it just took them longer, and they took the time to explain that to me. So it took me a little bit less time. And now maybe who I talk to, it'll take them a little bit less time than I did, and so on and so forth. And
that's basically how the sport progresses.
Yep.
I mean, I want to interview more of some of the younger lifters, the guys that are putting some crazy numbers, because I'm like, well, they're doing this at younger ages. Some of the information has to be trickling down. And that's why they're getting better, because they're going, hey, I'm not going to make the mistake. I heard Chad and Dave and Ed and all these guys talking about this shit. I'm not going to make that mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is interesting. And I try to do that with my clients now. It's like, okay, I know you want to go for that heavier one today, but what's the benefit?
Yeah.
Like, what's the benefit and what's the risk? Say it pushes you into overtraining and you're shit for 3 weeks. Say you stop now, and next week you can hit that, or the week after that. And that's something that's hard for people to do. And it was really hard for me because I don't know, fucking crazy, I guess. Like, I like pushing to that crazy limit all the time.
I'm a fucking lunatic. I want to like bleed out of my face and go super hard and just get what I can get. But I'm like, you got to pull back, time and place, like say we're not ready for that yet, or remembering the big picture, like strategic plan. Because that's something my coach Marcus has been so freaking awesome about. Like, we plan in, I called it an Olympiad. What did Dave called it? A quadrennial. And I was like, oh, okay. But like planning in 4-year chunks and then whittling it down and then looking at where we're at now and then taking it from that macro to micro view and like conceptualizing it so that I could understand it and like piece it out into bite-sized things and like bite-sized. And that helped quite a bit with that. Cause I want to like go slam my head against the wall and hit something crazy. But then I'm like, wait, that doesn't fit into the big plan.
I think pull it back. I think that's interesting. I've never planned out like that far. Like I like to plan different goals. Like I'll plan, what do I need to do over the next month and have a goal for that. And then what's the goal that I want to do that's realistic that I can get. And then I always have one that's like a daydreaming goal.
Yeah.
Because that one, whenever I get frustrated and pissed off, I can just spend some time thinking about my daydreaming goal, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good. I got this.
Yeah,
but
we're good.
Like what you're telling me is actually kind of interesting because you're kind of breaking it down, and you're going, well, wait a minute. To hit this goal, all I got to do is keep making these little gains, and it's kind of right there, right in front of you. Like you can't really ignore it. Wait a minute. All I need is this little bit here and this little bit here, and eventually I'm going to get where I get.
Exactly. That little like 5-meter target, and then keeping the big picture in mind. And like that's when it starts to get a little bit conceptual and a little bit like, you get in the philosophy type of thing. We're like, why are they doing this? Why? And I've had a couple of conversations with JM about it, and it's just like, that dude blows my mind with just his line of questioning. And then I'll think about it, and I'm like, why am I fucking doing this? But then he'll pull it out, and I'll remember little things like, I just went and taught middle schoolers how to lift weights because they're like doing their strength portion of PT or not PT, PE. And like just like watching their faces get excited and light up. And there were little girls in the room too. And they were like, oh, I don't think I can lift weights. So like, you absolutely can lift weights. And like watching them get excited and pumped to do that. And I'm like, okay, this is why I do this. To like, one, because I freaking love it and I have a good time personally, but two, because like I got shit to offer.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to do that. And like, I can't do that without the big plan. And that's the big plan. Same thing with like the weight classes and main event project and like helping women get into good meets and those type of things, or getting prize money for these things, or growing meets and participation, that type of shit.
Yeah.
And if I do the little things, I can't do the big thing.
Yeah, I will definitely have JM on again because that dude, like, oh man, he's like, I could talk to him for hours. I love the way he looks at things, and it's just fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, even in my little intro, it's like, dude, I've learned so much in life from what I did in the gym.
Yeah. It translates to everything, and it's amazing.
So I think too, what's interesting, I get frustrated with social media sometimes.
Same.
Because you look at it and I watch what people are doing, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, did they just do that today? Like, I don't, just because a video comes up, I don't know that it's like in order. Or if it's not a repost, or like sometimes, I mean, I get busy, so you don't post anything, and then you're like, bam, 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 you post a whole bunch of stuff. And I think there's this idea that you got to kill yourself to get strong. And like throughout my whole career, people are like, dude, you must train every day, like all day long. And I'm like, no, I would be weak as shit if I did that.
Yeah. I'd never have a chance to recover. I would never grow. I would never get bigger or stronger.
Yeah. And then like with certain people, you may see them and the number that they're lifting may seem heavy to you, but for them, it's not really, they're only doing 75 or 80%. But because it seems like a big number, people are like, oh my God, he's training heavy again.
Yeah. One of my favorite things that Jimmy says, because he'll get asked this all the time, and I've gotten asked this a couple of times, and he's like, or someone will ask, dude, what did the 1320 feel like in your hands? What does 1400 pounds feel like in your hands? And then he's like, well, what's your max? And then they say it, and he's like, it felt like that.
Pretty much. It's all relative.
His max is that weight. Like your max is also that taxing for you. And like 800 pounds on my back probably felt like someone's 300 pounds or someone's bar. Like it's so relative.
Well, it's like if you think back, and I tell this story all the time, like there are weights for me where it like changes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first time I put 700 in my hands, I was like, oh my Lord. And I was trying to do like a 3-board or something. And I knew as soon as I broke my elbows, it was going to crush me. But I did it anyway. And it was just like, wham, holy shit. Like it was just insane heavy. But then when I did 8, it didn't feel any different. When I did 9, it didn't feel any different. Like you get to a point where it's just goddamn heavy. Like, it's just the way it feels.
I think we've all have to have that. Like on the raw side, it's definitely like 400 for me in the squat, and maybe like, but that's the thing though. At the beginning, it was 135 for me, and then it was 225 bench, and now it's 300. So it's like your limit starts to get bigger as time goes on.
Yeah, I've told one of my clients, I'm like, dude, I knew he was getting frustrated, and I'm like, hey, don't worry about it, dude. I remember my first 135. I remember when I finally hit 300 in high school, when that felt so heavy, and like, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I had a buddy of mine. She was doing a reverse band deadlift. She's a geared lifter. And it was like a reverse mini or something like that. And it was deloading all the way at the top. And she got so excited and so amped up. I think it was like 385, and she wanted it so bad. And she got off balance because she pulled it. The bands helped her a little off the floor. And then she kind of kicked back with it and like fell over. She was like, I've never done that before, and was super upset about it. And I was like, dude, you just had 385 in your hands. Like, what are we upset about? Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you're good. Like, that's not a trend. That's not a chronic thing. You don't fall over in your deadlifts. You just got pumped. So let's take that excitement and figure out how to harness it and make it so that you don't do that, and like work on some balance stuff or whatever. But like, it's not the end of the world. And people just, they get so upset about things that they don't need to be upset about.
Well, I think you just tapped into like one of the commonalities about the top lifters. I tell people this story. There was a time where I thought I was going to come up with the greatest training program ever because I had access to all the top guys in the world. Like I was friends with all of them. Yeah. And when I started looking at what they actually did, I went, well, that was stupid. Like they all train different. And I'm like, okay, so what is common amongst these guys? And like one of those things was the attitude. Like you get ticked off when you screw something up, but you go, well, wait a minute. Okay, now I know what not to do. So this was actually a learning thing for me. It was a good thing.
Exactly. Everything is a learning opportunity. And that's really interesting too. Like trying to identify the commonality, and you look at the way that people train, and everyone's got a different body and different leverages and everything. And you cannot pinpoint it physically. I think you can pinpoint it mentally though.
Yeah, definitely more mentally than physically. Like we do have the same anatomy. I mean, we all have hearts, we all have lungs, but everybody's different. We're built different. We're mentally different. We recover different. We have different lives. Like there's so many things that are different. But talking to so many of the best guys in the world, it's like, man, And I always get kind of excited. Like I remember I was talking to Ed Cohn one time, or he might have posted this and then I called him. He said something about, he's like, I never really competed with anybody. Like
Yeah.
I knew as long as I kept getting better, I would end up where I wanted to be. And I was like, man, when I started, it was like, yeah, it'd be cool to win the meet, but you know what? The most important thing is for me to do more than I did last time.
Yeah.
And that's really what I focused on. And, you know, you get to a point where you're like, okay, now I want the world record. But you start out just going, I just need to keep getting better. And then so many guys that I talked to over the years had that same mentality. And even I'm blue collar Midwest, like to the bone, man. Like you work your ass off and you be the baddest dude and like nonstop. That's what I grew up with.
100%. Yeah.
If I got sick when I was in high school and missed training, like I would train if I was sick. And if I missed, I'm like, okay, well, I got to do 2 tomorrow then to make up for it, which is completely idiotic. But I think it gave me really strong tendons and ligaments.
Yeah, I agree, probably did.
But when I got bigger and I started contacting and had access to the better guys, like they're telling me stories like, yeah, sometimes I go in and my back don't feel right, so I'm just done for the day. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, what do you mean you're just done for the day? You mean you rest for 10 minutes and then get back to it? Like, what do you mean? And they're like, no, it's not. The day's not right.
I walk away.
Yeah, and it took me a long time. I probably still struggle with that.
Yeah, I do too, because I just want to be the workhorse. I want to be the sled dog, and I'm like, I go in, I get it done. I got shit to do, but there's like that thing that you have to know what it feels like for yourself, and everyone's different. To know, is it worth it or not? Risk versus reward. Is it going to help me or harm me in the long run, or even the next day? It doesn't even have to be the long run. And figuring that out just takes time and experience and practice, and other people telling you shit and learning shit from other people and knowing the way that your body feels when it's at a breaking point.
I think every injury I've ever had, except for one, I could look back and go, oh, that was the point where I should have went, yeah, I'm done today. Yeah. Every single time. But I ignored it.
I, knock on wood, haven't had anything catastrophic, but there have been like a few little things that have taken me out for a while. And I can go back and pinpoint the things. A lot of it was with the unlimited shirt. And like I had hairline fractures in both forearms, and I just like kept going because I'm like, no, it's fine, it's no big deal. And then it just got worse and worse. And I'm like, I should have stopped when I found out about those, because if I keep going now, it's going to be snappy.
you
did stop. Dave was actually very helpful in that decision.
Badass and a hard head. And Dave would have kept going. I swear to God, I know he would have kept going.
Yeah.
So you actually
one that talked to me, because I was Rita West was hosting a meet in XPS. I think that's her federation meet. And it was a bench only, and it was a cash prize, and it was supposed to be cool and like, you know, big deal. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll go in it. Sure. And then I started training for it. And I was also training for a raw meet at the time, which was probably a little bigger than that. What was it? It was the American Pro. Well, the American Pro is pretty big, but I was starting to feel some of these things, and I would go in there and bench on Sundays with the guys. And then I was like, I need to go have x-rays. Something's going on. And then I found them, told Dave about it. And he's like, you just need to stop benching. Just stop it. And I'm like, but I want to bench. I don't wanna. And I'm like, God damn it, you're right. This is stupid. Because what's going to happen is they're just going to get worse. They're going to hurt worse. And then I'm going to snap a whole fucking bone. And
then it could be really bad.
It could be way worse. And then I can't squat and I can't deadlift. So
I was actually thinking about this the other day, because I posted a video of 2003 APF seniors.
Yep.
And I pulled 705 easy, then I pulled 755, but my hand caught the leg of my suit. So I couldn't fully lock it out, but I tried to fake it. I thought I'm going to fake it out. I'm just going to like push my hips. And it was the easy 755. And then, but shortly after that, I had this tweak in my hip. So from then on, I never pulled in a competition without being in pain. And I think my best competition pull was only like 755. I have pulled 8. And I look back at that now. I was so stubborn. Like I can't quit. I got to keep training. But I also knew that I was older at that point, and I'm like, I only got so many years to hit the numbers that I want to hit. So fuck it, I'm going to keep training. But I look back and go, man, because when I finally decided I needed to back off for like mental health issues and stuff, like that hip healed up quick.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I thought, what? Now, if I would have taken 6 months and just let that thing healed up, what else could I have done?
Yeah.
Like that was a dumb decision, but.
I've been there. I did that. So I think my one, actually, this was almost a dumb decision. This is when I was figuring it out. So I had bombed out of WPO semifinals, and it was the COVID Classic when it was at the Arnold. I think in 2020 is when it all shut down. I bombed out, and I was so pissed because I shouldn't have bombed out. And then I went up. So Dan Dagg runs XPC, and he was having his meet the next day. So I was like, F this. This is bullshit. Like, I'm going, whatever. There's no reason I should have bombed out. So I went up to Dan. I was like, hey, I want to do your meet tomorrow. Just bombed out on squats, getting ready. And he's like, yeah, sure. Just go talk to so-and-so and we'll weigh in right now. I was like, cool. I'm getting a total this weekend. Nothing is stopping getting a total. And then I left and I was getting ready to go and like weigh in and stuff. And my coach, he knows me so well. And my boyfriend at the time was like, you going to let her do that? He's like, nah, it's fine. She'll figure it out. And then I went off. I talked to Anthony Oliveira in the hallway, and he was like, dude, that's so dumb. And I was like, took a minute. I'm like, it's pretty dumb. You're right. You're right, Anthony.
So you didn't go through with it?
I did not go through with it. I came to my sense and I was like, listen, just take the L, man. Take the L, go back, find another meet, or like re-prep for something, take some time off, go do a raw meet, go do some CrossFit, get back in shape, whatever you want to do. I think I did Highland Games before that. But yeah, that was my almost like, because I would have done that meet had I not talked to people, and probably would have gotten hurt. I
did early in my career. I did a meet over in California. Just I'm going to try to one up your story. And
I'm here for it. Let's go. I love.
So I bombed out of the meet. And I go in the back and I start training in the warm-up room.
Yes.
And and a couple of guys come back and they're like, what are you doing? I go, I'm starting training for the next meet right now.
Oh my
and they're like, what? And I go, yeah,
Oh, that's incredible.
I did like a full training session right after the meet.
One day.
The guys are trying to clean up the stuff, and I'm like, don't take those plates yet.
I'm not done. Oh, that's so good.
I got a lot of those. I learned from doing dumb shit. I've done a lot of dumb shit. That's why I'm so smart.
You have to do the dumb shit. Because, like, you can't just be told don't do dumb shit. Like, you can to a certain extent, but sometimes you just gotta find out on your own.
Sometimes you have to try yourself, yeah.
Yes, 100%.
We did one. I actually want to get my I'm waiting for one more mic to come. And I'm going to have a group of my old training partners. And I just want to tell stupid stories.
Oh, I love that so much.
And we did one. We were doing a dynamic squat and deadlift session. And like, it felt fast to me. I thought I was killing it. And my training partner's like, dude, that sucks. What the hell's your problem today? And I'm like, that's not fast enough. Wait, the next one will be faster. And I do it. And he's like, yeah, that looked like crap. And I'm like, son of a... And then it's like, okay, we're done. Deadlift. All right, I'm going to show him in the deadlift. And he's like, dude, stop. You're done. Like, it looks like shit. Like, it's not getting any better. I'm like, bullshit. This one will be faster. And I go, that looked better, didn't it? And he's like, no, it looks like shit. So they move on. They move on to their other stuff, and I'm pissed. I'm like, no, I'm going to get him to tell me one of these looks good. And so they're on the other side of the gym, and I'm like, how was that? And I'm like yelling across the gym, and he's like, looks like shit.
Go
Fuck
home.
you. And then I go to the bathroom, and they unload the deadlift bar and put the deadlift bar away. And I'm like, you motherfuckers. Go. So I get the deadlift bar out. I reload it up.
No way.
Oh, yeah. I was so exhausted the next day.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's a really good one.
Oh, it was so funny.
When I go into like elite is like, you get the stories too. So like everyone, like Matt Smith will tell a funny story, or like Todd will tell me something, or Dave will say something. And then we have such a cool dynamic of like different levels of lifters. So we have like high level raw lifters. We have high level equipped lifters. We have guys who are still equipped lifting, but like were the shit back in the day. And then like the kids. So we have like high schoolers and stuff in there too. And it's funny because it's like someone will tell a story and then they'll just start listening, and it'll be something ridiculous like that. And like the new people or the raw people, or the young people or the raw people will be like, what? You did what? That happened?
But you know, I had this. You gave me this thought earlier. Like, I think to be a great lifter, you kind of have to have that ability to be insane, but then somehow learn how to control it.
Yes.
And I feel that goes. I see life like a grayscale, like in photography spectrum of like white and black.
Yeah.
And I think the further you can live, or the further you can go on one end of the spectrum, it allows you to go that much further in the other one.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, if you're the person who's like, well, I never really feel that bad, well, then you probably never really feel that good either.
Yeah.
Like almost like bipolar. I mean, in order to feel like a total awesome manic phase, you have to feel that completely horrible phase.
For sure. There's always the rapid downside. You got to have the swings a little bit.
And so I think to be the best, you got to kind of have that little craziness inside you.
Yeah, I think people who just like live in the middle don't ever get a chance to experience how fun the craziness can be. But it also kind of sucks because like you have those like high highs.
Yeah.
Then as soon as you come down from it, you're like on the opposite end of the spectrum, and you're like, what am I doing with my life?
Yes.
And then you're chasing those the entire time.
And I think that that just made me think of like JM with with all his, how deep he goes in this shit.
Yes.
And because we talked a little bit about that, and I wanted to talk about this with you too, because you're still competing. So I definitely look back at my career and go, God damn, man, I should have celebrated more. Like I should have taken my wins. I mean, literally, when I broke my first WPO bench world record, I have the video. I stood up and I'm like, yeah. And as soon as I walk off the screen, I go, Ethan, what did I do? What can I do better? Like, I can do more. And he's like, dude, you just broke the fucking world record. Like, celebrate. And I go, no, I can do more. Like, it doesn't even matter to me that it's a world record anymore because I can do more.
Yeah. It's that like never enough mentality. And it's hard to try. Like I've tried really hard to allow myself to celebrate. And because I've gotten that same like advice before from people of, yeah, dude, like you just, after last year's women's pro-am, you have the 4th highest total of all time for the women. Like, go celebrate. And I was like, yeah, but it's 4. And I still don't have any world records. So like, Marcus, let's talk about the plan for the next meet. And he's like, shut the fuck up and go like, go have a beer. Like, you've just worked your ass off for this. You've sacrificed time with the people that you love, time at work, friends and family. Like, you're in the gym all the time. If you're not in the gym, then you're sleeping or you're eating or you're mobilizing. Like, go enjoy things with the people that you care about. And that's one thing that I always try and make sure that I do, because I did it early on when I started powerlifting, is I just shut everyone out. And I was like, nope, I got to do this for myself. And this is all that matters right now. And it's not all that matters. Like at the end of the day, this is all going to end sometime.
Yeah.
And when it does, like I want to have those memories with those people, but I still want to like be a part of their lives. And I still want to have the special things and try and be able to pick those special moments out. And like all the memories that I have from meets are like stupid, funny things, or like heartfelt moments with someone else, or, you know, something like that. It's not necessarily the lift itself. So I try and always like draw back on that. And that's like the driving force.
Yeah. I think when I look back, I kind of think it was funny because my highest total, which was 27:33, was the fourth highest total in history at the time. And I remember going, yeah, I want the all-time total. Yep. Like it was like, okay, that's cool, but so what? Now I look back and go, hey, dude, I had the fourth highest total in history. Like that's not
exactly. When you're in the weeds, you're like, it's not good enough. But now you're probably like, I mean, I see that, and like when I heard of you, I mean, this was years ago. Like I've known of you for a long time. Then when I finally met you, I was like, fuck, just chat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
like,
you just subscribed to my YouTube channel today.
I know I did.
Fucks up with that.
I know. I'm a shitbag. I thought it was just like Apple and Spotify, and then I was like, I wonder what, because I looked at your link tree, and then I saw the YouTube channel.
So this is interesting. I really like to analyze myself. I probably have more fun analyzing myself than anyone else. Yeah. And I go, so was I afraid to celebrate? Was I afraid that I would lose some of my fire? If I took a month to go, listen, dude, you just did this, you just got a world record, like take a month and like chill out and relax and like enjoy it.
Maybe, I don't know if you'd be afraid that you'd lose some of your fire, but I think that you probably knew how precious time was in your progression.
That I did, but the mistake that I made is I went, ooh, I'm this close. Like I'm this close. All I got to do is put it together, and I got the all-time total. So what did I do? I trained harder.
Yeah.
Which was the last thing I needed to do. I needed some freaking rest.
Yeah, exactly. And then like looking back, probably like, what was that month going to do to me?
Yeah. The risk reward.
Nothing, which would have been fine. Like there was no way that would have been detrimental, I don't think.
Yeah, no way. It only could have been positive.
But when you're in it though, like it's hard. It's hard that way.
Growing up in the Midwest, blue collar. You just need a little more. You just got to work harder.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad.
And I think that's another thing I like watching your Instagram. And I think my brain goes I'm always thinking of stuff. Yeah. And I watch your Instagram and I see some of the shit you do. Like I wouldn't even get down that ramp on roller. I would eat shit going down the ramp, let alone make it to the other side.
Great.
I think I could do it on my bike.
Oh, for sure.
But I like the fact that it seems like you're still doing stuff outside of lifting and you still have other hobbies. And even you were doing like some walking on your hands or some crazy shit.
Yep.
And I'm like, I think that's part of what's making her so good. And the fact that you are still doing some raw stuff and still doing some multiply stuff.
Yeah, that's what keeps me, I don't know, out of that obsessive track, I think. So if I can bite off on different things, like this muscle up obsession that I had for a little while. So like, there's no reason for me to be doing that. There's really not. But I needed something in the off season, like some little silly goal to work towards that had nothing to do with a barbell. And mentally, like that was great for me. I learned how to do other things. I talked to people I wouldn't normally talk to, and I got advice from CrossFitters I wouldn't normally talk to. And I was like, I'm going to do this thing. And the only thing that it does for me is that I can, I guess, say that I did it. There's nothing. There's no reward. There's no pat on the back. It's whatever.
No, but I think it is more beneficial for you than you may even know.
Yeah, I do too.
Because I definitely look back and like I love the time that I lifted. Like meets were so awesome, and there were so many characters, and we were all insane. But it was an absolute blast. But I still look back. It's just my personality to always want to like make things better. And I go, what could we have done better? And one of the things I keep going back to is like how often guys are getting injured, how immobile we were getting, how inflexible. I mean, I always stretch, so they looked at me like a freak because I could still almost do the splits.
Nice.
But I look back at that and I go, man, like what if we would have done that differently and did kind of what you're doing and still have other physical things outside? Or I have an idea now. I haven't had my guys do this yet, but I'm debating on when I get more like 4 or 5 people teams. Like, no, today you're going to go throw the baseball. Like you guys are going to play catch.
Swiss.
Yeah. And then like I like having my guys do medicine ball work on GPP days. And so across the street at the park, they have a volleyball thing. So like I had a team of 4 guys. I started making them play volleyball with a 20-pound medicine ball.
That's amazing.
And I mean, of course you can't hit it. You still got to catch it and throw it over.
How many fingers got screwed up during that?
None. They did all, and they were going nuts, dude. I had guys diving and shit.
They loved it too.
Oh, they had a blast.
Excited.
Yeah, they had a blast and they were moving and running. And like, I'm like, dude, this is what we need. They need more of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people get so tunnel visioned on things and they lose sight of like, it doesn't have to be just that. Roller skating has nothing to do with powerlifting, but it helps me to powerlift. Like whether or not you decide or to think that it does or not, like playing med ball volleyball, that helps you, your hand-eye coordination, your proprioception, your cardio, your ability to think before you move. Like there's just so many things that people don't take into account with those like random events that people do. And that it all translates.
Yeah. And that was, I think I talked about it in one of my videos the other day. Like I've known guys that could squat 1,000 pounds, but can't do like one Bulgarian split squat or will have trouble walking upstairs.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, well, just using my common sense, if you can't do one goddamn Bulgarian split squat, but you squat 1,000 pounds, if you were good at Bulgarian split squats, how much bigger would your squat be?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how messed up are your stabilizers and shit that you can't do one?
Right. Yeah. It's definitely a give and take.
But we get so, and I mean, I did this, I made the same mistake. I got so tunnel vision. It's like, dude, I need to sleep and lift heavy. I'm like, that's not good for my body. Like, it's just not.
No. It's not good for my brain either. Especially with people who have played sports and they want to be active and they want to do these things and they enjoy being active. Like I got close to 220 when I was in the 220 class. I don't think I ever competed anything over like 209 or 210. But there was a time where I was like 220 and I'm 5'4", and I was freaking miserable. Like putting my uniform on, walking up the stairs at work, or like doing a PT test, like running 1.5 miles. Oh my God. Like put me out of my misery. And I'm like, I need to have that balance of like being able to live with myself and also doing the things that I want to do in the strength sports that I do.
Well, even when it comes to recovery, I think if you're that bad out of shape, how shitty is your recovery? Yeah,
exactly.
And it was funny because Brandon Allen did a post. I think he did it yesterday, where he's like, I slept 10 hours. I haven't slept. When I was 280 or when he was 380, he's like, I couldn't sleep anywhere near that.
Yep.
And I was like, so if you're not sleeping, you're not recovering, right? So like what good is being that big if you can't recover? You might even be stronger at a lighter body weight, which I'm so amazed at some of the young guys now. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, how they're not that big. How are they that strong? Like
Hmm.
I had to be 380 to squat shit like that. How are they doing it at 240?
Yeah, exactly. Like freaking Anthony Habaika is a really good one that I love watching. And he's jacked too on top of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we're on to something now.
I think we are. I think that it isn't about, and it's a progression too. Like if you're a
Hmm.
newer athlete or newer to powerlifting and lifting, you can obviously get away with a lot more. You do have to train more.
Yeah.
And this is another philosophy I have that I kind of learned through my lifting career. Just because like there's so much in life that I'm not that good at that still confuses me. But
Same.
the gym has always made sense to me.
Yeah.
Like I actually found out this was a few years back when my relationship ended, and I didn't realize it. But the more chaotic the relationship got, the more I started training,
Yep.
and I realized afterwards that I go, dude, life's getting confusing, and I wanted to fix the relationship. I wanted to work it out, but everything I tried didn't work.
Yep.
So subconsciously, I started training more because that was more time in a place where I'm like, dude, I know this. This makes sense.
Yeah. You control those variables.
But I got to thinking, like, it really, if you believe in right and wrong, so you put in all this time, you work hard, you're getting stronger. The stronger you get, the less you have to train. Like, that
Yep.
seems fair. That actually makes sense. Like, that
Yeah.
seems fair. Hey, you worked your ass off. You're so good at this. You can still keep getting stronger. But now you have time to pick up some of those hobbies that you gave up to get here.
Yep.
Like, that totally
Exactly.
makes sense to me. That seems fair. Why didn't I realize that back in the day?
Oh, I'm with you there. Yeah. It's crazy.
And that's where I like doing all this stuff because I mean, I think I talked to Laura about this when she was on. Like, if you bomb out of a meet or something, if you as long as you learn something, who cares? Like, it's good.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so like
Especially
even
too,
all this, go ahead.
like it's hard because I mean, I want to talk about like, can you call yourself a professional power lifter? Like, we're not making money off of this. Like, people who make their living off of powerlifting also doing other things within the powerlifting community. Like, you're not winning a bunch of money. You're not going contest to contest and building a life like that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say justify it on that aspect of things. So you have to pick up those other hobbies and do those things.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to think about it from that aspect. I'm sorry to interrupt you. What did Laura say?
No, it's definitely. I don't know.
I don't know.
I
We're
forgot
on.
my ADD
I
kicked
love
in. But yeah, like yeah, what did they? I loved when they called it. It's like the WPO was like, oh, this is professional powerlifting. I go, oh, really? I go, we
it.
have a different definition of professional.
Is it?
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's. I mean, like really, like why do you do powerlifting? What are you going to get from it? It's a hobby. It's a personal thing
Hmm.
to push and look back. And I mean, even kind of like you said, like I started posting some of these old videos, and so guys are messaging me, and it's like, dude, these are cool dudes. Like all these cool guys that I haven't talked to in years, I'm talking to again, and we're like, hey, I'll be in Vegas, and I'm like, well, I'm actually not in Vegas. I'm in Reno,
No.
but I go, I have family down there. Like, if you're going to Vegas, let me know, dude. I'll make a trip because I would love to see you again and
Yeah.
reminisce over some of this shit that we did.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's a lot of benefits beyond just lifting.
Yeah. There really is. Like, there's the mental aspect, there's the physical aspect, and then there's also like, I get a lot of gratification about or from helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's my jam. Like I love that. Or even like, because I was a little girl who was bigger and didn't want to be big and didn't want to have that like stigma and was, like made fun of and shit for it. But then like seeing other little girls get excited about like, oh, I just did a deadlift for the first time, or like, oh, what was it? When someone from work will send me a message or something like, oh, we watched your meet. This is my daughter doing curls while she was watching your meet because she was excited and wanted to get strong. Like, that's what it's about for me.
Yeah.
Like, I want to expand the sport, get as many people in it as possible. So maybe one day it could be professional, like by definition, and like just creating your replacements and getting it better and making it a better place or a more accessible place, like breaking down those barriers to entry, that type of stuff. That's what excites me.
Yeah. And I mean, basically, I mean, I could very easily break that down to you want to be a positive part of society in the world.
Absolutely. And that doesn't just stop at powerlifting. Like, I'm like that in my job. I'm like that with like, I try to leave shit better than when I found it. And I wasn't always like that, but you know, growing up and learning things, you just figure shit out along the way. And I'm still figuring shit out. Like, no one has it all together, but like,
that's strength training in life right there. Like, you're never, I was talking about perfection the other night, and it's like, just because perfection is unobtainable, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't try.
Exactly.
So like, strength for me is like, it's a never ending puzzle. Like, I know I'll never be able to solve it, but it doesn't mean I shouldn't try. Like, I still want to try. And life's the same way. I'm never going to be a perfect human, but I'm going to try to be as close as I can.
Yep. There was, oh man, I've gone down so many rabbit holes recently on like these motivational posts and like quotes and stuff on not Facebook, Instagram. And there was one that was like, if you don't try, the guarantee is failure.
Yes.
Like, you cannot do anything if you just quit or give up or say, no, that's not for me or whatever. Like, the guarantee is that it will never happen. If you don't shoot your shot or if you don't put in effort, like, you're not going to get it at all. But if you do put in that effort, there's a chance it could happen. It still might not happen, but there's at least.
That's, I love quotes.
I know.
That's why I do
good ones.
That's why I do that section on this podcast with the quotes. Cause I love doing it. And I'm like, hey, when I first thought of it, I'm like, if I do the quote and talk about it, I'll bet that's going to make me see it from even a different perspective. Cause I'm actually trying to put into words what it means to me.
Yep.
Well, good. I'm going to have you on I'm going to pick a quote and we're going to have a session of that.
Ooh, sick. I love that.
Yeah, it's life strength training. It's all the same to me. Like, it really is.
It's one giant metaphor.
So with your job, you're teaching like what, 18 to 20-year-old kids, something like that?
18 to 21. We have some that are older that decided to come back, but mostly 18, 21 to 22. And
do they know about your lifting?
Some of them do. So I put together, I think most of them do now. So we run a lot in the military, running, push-ups, sit-ups, calisthenics, that type of stuff, more like CrossFit-y.
And you still do that? Really?
Yeah, I got to take a PT test once a year, so I don't train for it. I just have to pass it, but
no, but you obviously lift these crazy numbers, but stay in shape. Back in my day, that was like,
yeah,
dude, there were literally super heavyweight guys that couldn't walk through the airport without taking a rest. I was never that bad. I always still hiked and stuff like that, but I mean, you'd hear me hiking up the hill, like, you know, the barometric pressure would drop from all the oxygen I was using.
Stuck in some wind. Yeah, that's another piece too. Like, powerlifting doesn't pay my bills. The military does. So I need to, like, that's always got to be the priority. That's how I eat. And I love what I do. And I love serving the country. I love all that stuff. And like, it's not that hard to pass. I mean, also I'm Air Force too. I'm not like in the Marine Corps or something that we have to like do these ridiculous ruck marches or whatever. So it's not as strenuous, but like I still want to do well there and excel and promote and like become a decision maker and a leader and all of those things. So that's usually the thing that takes priority, even though as soon as I'm off the clock, I'm running to the gym.
So with your students and stuff, because you honestly, when I met you, depending on what you're wearing, like you're not like this. People, I could see where people could not have any idea what your strength level is.
Just look like a regular lady in a uniform.
Mm-hmm. You ever tell them like, listen, if I got to, I'll smack you.
No, they're funny. They're starting to figure it out. So I've only been in this job for a year, and I started. We'll do weightlifting. We got the keys to the weight room at the university, and I do this voluntary weightlifting thing with them. And they come in, and we'll squat, and we'll bench, and we'll deadlift, and we'll do all those things. And they're starting to figure it out. And I think a few of them found me on social media, and I had to block them. I'm like, not yet, we're not doing this. Because I do post, I do some shit posting. Nothing that is unprofessional for the military, but they don't need to see that, especially from like an instructor student standpoint.
Yeah.
But they're figuring out. And I have I won Air Force Athlete of the Year in like 2020, I think, for powerlifting. That was the first time a strength athlete has ever won that award.
That's pretty cool.
And got me. They didn't like the award that the Air Force gave me, which was just a plaque. So they had a like WWE style belt made for like the WPO, that Air Force Athlete of the Year, and it's hanging on the wall. So when the cadets come in, they're like, "What's that for?" I'm like, "Let me tell you."
See, I'd be like, "Shut up and sit down."
Yeah. Bam. Top rope. No, I try to bring that side of me in where it's appropriate. A lot of it is during PT, or even when the kids are in my office, like having trouble balancing schoolwork and, you know, running or getting better at what they need to get better at, or their leadership skills or something. And it's really cool because I can bring a lot of what I've learned through powerlifting and be like, it's relatable to them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something really simple that I can tell them, or little examples. And they're like, "Oh, light bulb moment."
So that's interesting. That's actually a good point. Because to be a top level powerlifter and balance life is actually really difficult. Mm-hmm. I've known a lot of top level powerlifters who during those years, man, their life goes to shit.
Yep. Don't get it twisted. I've had some shitty moments in life too, but like figuring out how to navigate those difficulties and like failures, and then coming back better. Mm-hmm. Like if I can impart that, if they get 10% of that message, I've won.
It's the one quote, "Why do we fall? So we learn to get back up."
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And would you rather never fall, or would you rather fall often?
Yeah.
I would rather fall often because then I learn to get back up.
Yeah.
If I've never fallen, how do I even know I can get back up?
Yeah, exactly. Or like the first time that you fall, mm-hmm. you think it's the world. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I don't know if I can recover from this. But then you do, and time goes on, and you figure shit out, and you focus on someplace else or something that makes more sense, or shift your mindset.
And then it happens again, and you go, "Damn it.
I did it again."
As long as I fell in a different way, I'm okay.
Yeah,
If I fall
exactly.
the same way repetitive times, then I'm pissed.
I know. I'm running out of them though. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. There's so much more to talk about, but we're already at like an hour and 45 minutes.
I know.
So
Yeah.
hopefully you'll come back on again.
Hell yeah.
And I'm serious about the quote thing. I'm going to find a good quote,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
we're going to do an episode. We'll each say what we think,
That'll be fun.
which is my
Yeah.
goal. The reason I just want people, there's another thing with social media is like everybody's on there and they want to find all these inspirational quotes and this kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, but do they really think about it? Like so many people are like, oh yeah, that's awesome. And then like 10 minutes later, it's completely gone.
Yeah, exactly. Or they're just like rapid fire posting. I'm guilty of that too. Cause I'll just see like mostly it's memes and like stupid crap or stuff. But then it's like, what message am I really trying to get across here? Or like, what do I want people to know? Cause like when my stuff first started taking off, it was weird. Cause I'm like, why do so many people give a shit what I'm doing? Is it because I'm funny? I do post funny shit, I'm not gonna lie. But or is it the lifting, or is it, whatever? So then I try to get a good balance of like, okay, educational thing, motivational thing, funny thing, stupid thing, and then like dogs.
But isn't that what we were just talking about? Like with powerlifting, it's a balance of everything. And like I had a talk with Dave one time. Because we were talking about balance, and I have this view of like the justice scales, like an old type scale where you got the two sides.
Yeah.
And I'm like, as long as that scale's not tipped over, it's technically balanced. Like as long as one of the things isn't sitting on the table, there is balance. It's just not equal balance. And I go, I think life you're never going to be equally balanced. And if you want to be one of the best in the world, it's going to be out of balance a little bit, but you got to keep it balanced. Like the end of my career, I had the scale, like it flipped off the table and it was on the floor. Like I was completely fucking way over. And I think I had a lot more years left in me. I don't think I came close to being as strong as I could have been. I just went too far. And so I think you need that balance. And I think life's about that balance too. Like I have some friends that are like, Chad, you think too much. Like you're too serious. And I'm like, but I'm not always serious. Like you just don't see the other side of it. Like I can laugh at some of the stupidest shit in the world. Trust me.
Yeah. And it's also like Instagram and social media, like is the user manipulates everything. So you control the narrative of what people want to see of you. Like I'm not freaking happy and like funny and goofy 24/7.
Yeah, no,
but like
we'll have shit.
It's the highlight reel, man. And also it's the money making reel with sponsors and getting paid, like feeding yourself type of thing. And people have a hard time. And then they'll start comparing themselves to other people who are doing that shit. And it's the never ending cycle of like, you don't really ever know someone until they're like in your inner circle and you're interacting with them face to face or phone call, text message all day long.
Yes. That's actually one of the, like this podcast is, I'm going to admit it's totally selfish too. Like, I mean, I do want to put out good content and I want to help people and I want to, give people some knowledge, but it's like, dude,
and
I get to talk to people that I either haven't got to talk to in a while or people I've never talked to. Yeah. And like, it's fun for me to meet new people and learn new stuff.
Yeah. You're a modern day storyteller. Like if you look back, like before the written word was a thing, this is what it was. Got passed on. This is the only way it's getting passed on through technology now.
The storyteller. I kind of like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think that's a funny thing too. It's interesting to get older.
Hmm.
Mentally, I'm not very old yet, but
Yeah. I'm
like you,
like a sixth grade level over here.
he just.
Bart just hilarious.
I guarantee you, if they put me in a classroom to this day, I would still get in trouble. I know it.
Yep.
I would get separated from people and all kinds of shit.
Dad's a great student, but he's very disruptive.
But like even in lifting, there's all these different segmented time frames. And I'm
Hmm.
kind of amazed how a lot of young lifters don't know that much about the older lifters. I mean, even when I started, like I was looking up Louis Cyr and Paul Anderson. And, when I came up, it was like Ed Cohn. And I actually want to do a video on Dave Passanella because most people don't know who Dave Passanella is. And that dude, if he wouldn't have gotten in a car crash and died when he was 28,
Hmm.
he was unbelievable, unbelievably strong.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
And
Just like learning about different people at different points in time in your sport. Like that's why historians are a thing.
mm-hmm.
Like that's why there are storytellers. That's why there are history books, because like to know where you're going is to know where you've been.
I had some, this was a long time ago. I was talking to somebody about training. And I had, at the time, I was my one training partner. Like he should have beat me,
Hmm.
but he decided he wanted to have kids and stuff. And I don't, that's cool. So at that point, he kind of like ended up not training as much and stuff. And
Hmm.
they're like, well, what do you mean he could beat you? He's like, you would train him to beat you? I go, hell yeah, I would. Like, that's what you do. Like,
Yeah, I want
even
competition.
there was one time when some of my AWPC world records got broken, like nobody seemed to give a shit. And it was this guy from Canada. I can't remember his name.
Hmm.
And I'm like, fuck that. And I wrote a thing. I think it was either on my column or one of my articles on Elite, like
Hmm.
how people should know this. Like those are my drug-free records. He just beat my drug-free records. And I
Yeah.
don't give a shit if you do drugs or not. I don't care about it.
Hmm.
But I think there's a difference between doing it and not doing it.
Yeah,
And I
for
like gave
sure.
this guy all kinds of praise for doing that. And he actually wrote me a cool letter after that.
Oh, that's really
And I was
nice.
like, if you love this sport, you want your records to be broken. If your records don't get broken, the sport dies. Like
Exactly.
you should want people to be better. So I'm always willing to help people.
That's one of the reasons why I love Laura so much, is she's coaching people to beat her stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and she is static when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
When Dina went and won the WPO and like snagged all her records, she was like, I was a part of that. I
Yeah.
did the thing, and then I helped progress the person, like my replacement. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the most gratifying things, at least to me in this sport, is looking, hey, who's replacing me,
Yeah.
because I'm not going to do this forever, and I want them to be better than me, and then do the same thing to their replacements
Mm-hmm.
and their replacements, and so on and so forth. It's a legacy.
That was one very cool thing about Laura. Well, there's a lot of cool things about Laura, but
Yeah.
that even when I interviewed her, I'm like, Laura, I don't think you understand like how often your name comes up
Hmm.
in women's powerlifting and how many top girls I talk to that have some connection to Laura or learned something from Laura or Laura helped them. And I'm like, I wanted to tell her that in person because I think that's way cool, man, that you
Yeah.
could be that good in the sport and then continue afterwards. And that's one of the things
Hmm.
I love about Eddie Cohn too, is that he's still in the sport. He's still judging. He's still helping lifters. He's still doing seminars. Like,
Yeah.
and he's such a nice guy. Like, that's
He's so
awesome.
pooped my pants at the Arnold when I went up. So I've met him a few times, and we were at, I think it was last man standing at the bench contest. And I was like, oh my God, it's Eddie Cohen. I want to go say hi to him. And like, we've met a couple times. I'm like, he probably doesn't remember me. So I went and reintroduced myself to him. And I was like, oh my God, I'm happy to see you again. You're freaking awesome. And I was like, I'm Amber. He's like, I know who you are. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. No way. Went back to Katie Kolb, who was sitting there. I was like, Eddie knows who I am. It's pretty cool. But that, like, here's the thing. He'll never know. I mean, if I told him, he would know. But like the amount of people that you can reach and that you can touch just by saying like a sentence is amazing with what you've been able to accomplish. And then if you just like give a little encouragement or like help to someone or say something to someone, you don't ever know what's going to stick with them and what isn't. So the level of impact that you can have on a person or a group of people is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so cool.
I actually think about that. I think about that with kids a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think back to my childhood and I think about things that I did with my dad that my dad's like, he doesn't have any memory of it whatsoever. But to me, it meant everything.
Burned in your brain.
So like with my nieces and nephews and stuff, I always try to remember that maybe this is kind of boring for me, but what are they feeling? And how excited are they? Yep. But now I got to tell my Ed Cohn story. So I'm at my first WPO at the Arnold, and I'm working for one of the stupid supplement companies at their booth. And I see Eddie walking up the aisle, and I'm like, holy fuck, that's Eddie Cohn. Because I'd never met him at this time. And I'm kind of looking around, and I'm like, looking out of my peripheral, and I'm like, he's coming this way. Like, why is he walking over this way? And I go, maybe he's just going somewhere else. And then he's like, now he's directly like coming at me. And I'm like, holy shit, is Eddie Cohn? And then all this is in my head. You know, I'm like, is Eddie Cohn coming up here? And he walks up to me and he goes, hey, Chad, are you lifting this weekend? And I'm like,
what?
Yeah, uh-huh. And we talk for a little bit. And then he's like, all right, good, man, I'm looking forward to slowing. And I just immediately get on my phone and I'm my training part of the track. I'm like, dude, Ed Cohn just came. He knew my name. Like he didn't just come up to me. He called me by name and asked me if I'm lifting. And I'm like, holy shit.
That's so cool. Yeah, you just never know. Like,
and then later on, I was at one of the elite seminars. And this is when I had lost some weight. I was down to like 330 or something. And I walk into the hotel and he's up at the desk and he turns around and he looks at me and he like doesn't say a word. Like I love his dry sense of humor. Doesn't say a word, but he eyeballs me, makes eyeball connection, pans down to my feet, looks back up at me and goes, "You're almost normal size." And I'm like, God. What? Is that a compliment or are you making fun of me?
That. That's so amazing. That's why I pay attention to little things, and like I'm not great at it. I can always get better, but like remembering people's names who I meet, and like that's why I do so much on social media too, because I'm like I'll go to the Arnold or like even at Swiss, or like someone will come up to me like, oh, I follow you on Instagram, like all this stuff, and I'm like, I know who you are. Like, how's this going? How's that going? It's hard to keep up with everything, but like I try to make a point to do that because I know how impactful it has been to me. And I'm like, if I can do that for someone else and like help them in any way possible, I'm like, I got to do it. I can't not.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I've had what you said earlier. I had this came into my head when I was in high school. And like one of my life goals was to, on my deathbed, I want to be able to say the world is a little bit more positive than it was when I came into it. I don't care how big an effect that I have, but I have to have made some sort of positive something for this universe while I was here.
Absolutely. I think you checked that box.
I think that's why I talk about my depression and all that shit so much too, because there's just so many people that are affected and so many people can't talk about it. And I'm like, I can. It's not easy, but I can do it. So if I can make myself do it, I should do it.
Yeah. That shows other people too that might be like in the trenches like right now. And like it's an up and down thing for everyone. But like if someone like you or anyone else who has this type of background or whatever can talk about it and they're like, shit, I'm not alone. And that's really, really powerful to know that you're not alone, because you just feel so freaking lonely in those moments. You're like, shit, it's not just me. Yeah. Someone else dealt with this. and they're doing okay. They're doing great. Like they're doing all these cool things and they're still like reaching their goals and stuff, but they deal with the same stuff that I do momentarily or for a longer period of time. Like being relatable is so freaking underrated.
Yeah. Well, everybody's on social media trying to put this front that everything's awesome all the
Yeah.
time, and it's like, no, it's not. Not at
Mm-mm.
all. That
It
was
is not.
one of the interesting things when I first started opening up with my depression is I had people like I've literally had people pull me to the side. Like if I'm in public, they'll be like, "Hey, Chad, come over here,"
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll tell me their story, and I'm like, "Oh my!" Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I've had people tell me about horrible depression that they haven't told their spouse about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's like so sad. It almost makes me want to cry. Like, that's
Yeah,
horrible.
for sure. And like it, there's always someone out there that like I try to like be nice and happy and upbeat. I'm not like that all the time. There's no fucking way. This is just
It would be
it's
exhausting.
not yeah, it's not feasible. But like I always know like I have a roof over my head. I have food in my mouth. I have family that loves me. I've been in some pretty low lows, but I also know that other people go through that shit. So like if I can be kind and like personable and like a little, just a little bit happy for someone else or to someone else in any everyday, like going to the bank or something or checking out groceries or something, you don't ever freaking know what someone's dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. And like you being an asshole in whatever moment could be the thing that just ruins that person's day. Like it could be the tipping point. So I'm always really careful about that because I've been there. I've been in the lows and have had people be shitty to me, and I'm like, I'm going dark for like a week or something.
That's where
Yeah.
I'm again, blue collar Midwest, like holding doors for people and saying thank you
Mhm.
and yes, sir, no,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Like I do all that stuff still to this day.
Love me some manners.
All right. So we've been on here we're over 2 hours now.
Oh
What
God.
I know you have, I just looked at your Instagram because I was curious how many followers you had. You're at 19.8. So everybody listening, if you don't follow her, like get her over 20 grand. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
Get
let's
this shit
go.
done. Do you ever I look at mine, I only have like 4,000 followers on my Instagram, but if it gets to like 39.99, I'm like, son of a bitch, got to get two more. Got to get over four.
I obsess about it over like a lot. Now I don't even look at it. And I don't even like I'm really bad. Like I go on there and I post and I interact with the people that I know.
Mm-hmm.
So like the people that I DM regularly or like respond to, those are like my people, my internet friends or
Oh, good,
like
because I'm one of those people. I'm one of your
you
people.
are. But I don't make a habit of like scrolling through the requests or answering everything because
You
I
can't,
won't be able to do anything for myself.
yeah, you can't.
Yeah, or I'll just get hit with a bunch of pictures of wieners or something. And I don't want.
I hate to say it, but I've gotten that too. The Bears love me for some reason.
Yeah, there's like no shame. I don't understand. Or like, how much for a foot picture? Like, dude, just stop.
Yeah, that's a weird one too. I've known some female professional athletes, and I'm like, the stuff they get asked is like, wow.
It's ridiculous. Or when I do those anonymous questions, I don't answer half of them. They're disgusting.
I need to do that. I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
You should. I'll send you. I'll send you the app because I think yours would be really good. Well, no, I mean I'd send you some, but then I'd be like, I asked this one, not very anonymous.
Yeah, even when like I'll have the bear, like it's funny because like I don't really mind if it's, I don't know what the word would be, but like if it's appropriate.
Yeah,
Like the bears will be like, "Hey, you're really cute," and I'm like, "Well, just so you know, I'm straight, but thank you. I appreciate the compliment."
yeah. That's what I'll do on those ones too, because like people will genuinely reach out because like they're either shooting their shot or feeling things out, and I try not to be a dick, but like if there's a line,
Yeah.
And once that line is crossed, you just get hit with a block real quick.
Yeah. I basically go, you're an ass, and then block them.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, this is embarrassing for both of us, and then block.
It is amazing though, some of the stuff you get. And I can't even imagine, like, the women that I do know, I think women have it much harder than men in that aspect.
Gross. It's
I mean,
really
I've had
gross.
some women do some pretty risque stuff to me too, and I'm like, do you think that would make me like actually want to be with you if you said me that shit?
Exactly. This is doing the opposite. Like, I don't know. How you doing? How's your day? Ask me something that makes sense. No, no. All right.
It's funny. So what is your it's just, let me look here.
Um.
Jimmy Kolb started a video right now, live video.
Oh yeah, it's Sunday night. He does his lives every Sunday.
God damn, that 800 for 20, like,
Right? He's so amazing. He's gonna he'll be staying. Him and Katie are coming to stay with me next weekend because he's got his table talk.
oh, he's doing another one too down there.
Mm-hmm,
I need to have him on again. I had a blast talking to him.
Oh, he's so fun.
It's so, like, even 800, like, because I'm trying to make a little video about my Olympia experience. Like, literally, I had 2 weeks to learn how to do a shirt again.
That's crazy.
And even with I think I did 500 for reps. Well, I got like 1 or 2 at 7. I don't think any of them counted. And then I got like 6 got way crooked for some reason. Mm-hmm. And then on like 500, I did 10. I did like 9 or 10. And I stopped because I literally could not breathe.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like so not used to having that on me. Like, I would every time I exhaled, it was just.
It's like a flak jacket, and it'll just push your chest. It's wild.
And even when I sat up, I'm like, dude, I can't breathe, man. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, you're turning purple. And I'm like, how did he? Like, I think there was I wanted to time it. I don't think I did it yet. I'm like, he was actually under pressure, under 800 pounds for like almost a minute.
Oh, that'd
longer. Be. And I'm like, it's
just crazy stuff. Even like, because I think he wasn't even in a shirt. He was in a Widowmaker.
Yeah. I actually would like to go train with him at some point.
So much fun.
I need to call him and pick his brain when I start doing this shirted stuff a little more.
Oh yeah. He's so knowledgeable. He's helped me so much in the shirted stuff. Oh shoot. Come out next weekend. We'll all train at
It's funny because when I talk to him, we have very similar like ways we look at it because he doesn't complicate it either.
No,
like he keeps it pretty simple, and that's the way I always was. It's just he's got more experience.
Yeah, I mean he's been doing it since he was in high school.
Yeah, and I will never stop. Even when I interviewed Laura because I went to her seminar in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, it's Laura Phelps. I can still learn shit from her. Like, I still travel to learn stuff from people. And even when I was getting in these shirts, I'm like, I could go, I'm Chad motherfucking Ikes. Fuck you. I know what I'm doing. But I'm like, dude, I haven't been in this shirt. Like, I'm calling everybody I know and going, hey, any advice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got. Yeah, I do that. I do that stuff too. I go, was it last year? Laura had a seminar at a gym up in Virginia when I was stationed in DC. And I was like, yep, I'll go to it. I've been to like 3 or 4 of her seminars. And I'm like, and I learned something new.
Yeah.
Like the minute you stop thinking that you don't have anything left to learn is like the minute that you are irrelevant.
I heard a really good one the other day where they compared knowledge to like a circle. Mm-hmm. And all your knowledge you put inside the circle. And so the more knowledge you get, the bigger the circle gets. Mm-hmm. And the outside of the circle is kind of like the event horizon in a black hole. Like, so the more knowledge you get, the more you realize how much you don't know. Mm-hmm. And it's like, so I'm actually getting smarter and knowing that I'm dumber at the same time.
God, that's so freaking true. The more time I spend in the sport, the more I realize I don't know shit.
Speaking of Eddie Cohn, I was having lunch with Ed one day, and he's like, man, Chad, he goes, I just got so much more to learn about strength training. And I'm like, what? Well, if you got more to learn, I'm screwed.
I'm a baby. Yeah, that's crazy.
Do you have YouTube? Do you post anything on your YouTube?
No, I don't really do the YouTube thing. I do Instagram. I have a TikTok, but I'm not very good at it. And it's all Amber with 2 R's dot Alice.
What's the
Like,
Alice part? Is that your middle name?
no, my middle name's actually Marie. Alice is what my Nana calls me. And it's like the running joke of the family because I've never been like a small, delicate flower of a girl. So she would call me Amber Alice Petunia, and it would make me feel like really feminine and cute. Still calls me that to this day. So that's what Amber Alice
You're
is.
more like a hibiscus.
Biscuits, yeah.
That big Hawaiian, like.
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm down for that. Yeah. That's good tea too.
I wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
Ah, man, it was awesome having you on. It was awesome talking to you.
This.
I'm glad we got to meet in person, and hopefully that'll happen again.
For sure. Come on out here. There's lots of stuff going on in Vegas. I know it's not Reno, but I'll probably be out there sometime doing something with like Micah and those guys at Fight or Quit.
What sponsors do you have? Let's throw a name out there for those guys.
Anderson Powerlifting. That's my ride or die. So Ken Anderson, Kevin Pittman, all of the gear, pretty much anything that you would need to lift, wrist wraps, knee sleeves, knee wraps. If you want to get in a single ply, Anderson's got it. If you want to get in a multiply, Anderson's got it.
Those multiply, those unlimited shirts are freaking expensive.
They are. They're very expensive. But Anderson, aside from Rob and the Fate Company, Anderson's the only distributor of the band. And they got them all. So, I have a code, Amber Alice 10. I think it's 10% off. Save some shmonies. And then
10% off a multiply shirt is actually a pretty good deal.
Actually, like, it's not like, I think the triple plies are in the 400s. So that ain't too bad. And then that's really it. Main Event Project is the project myself, Leah Reichman, Allison Hine, and Tara Duncan put together. And we did all of that stuff to increase the women's weight classes. And we're basically just an educational platform and also raising money to put money back into like women's only meets or prize pots for certain meets, and sponsoring. We're going to sponsor a lifter for the 2023 Women's Pro-Am. So everything paid for, flight, registration, all that good stuff.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah. So we're all about that women's empowerment and making powerlifting a good place for females to compete in.
I actually want to go. I want to go to one of Laura's all women's ones.
You should. April.
I've heard so many different stories of like, even AJ. I was talking to AJ about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I went out to one." And he goes, "Dude, it is different. It's like totally different."
Something. It was AJ. So I think I remember I was in line at the bathroom. It was AJ and Luke, and they were like, I cannot believe I was just at a meet where there were 3+ women who squatted over 7 and 2 who squatted over 8. It's like, I never thought I'd see the day. And like, that's the best meet I've ever done in my life. And I will always do the Pro-Am just because it is so special. It's so cool. And you should absolutely come out for it in April.
I watch some of your videos and I go, fuck, I'm weak.
You could probably run way better than I can.
And I can't do a handstand either.
I could teach you that. That's easy.
All right, all you listeners out there, check out my YouTube channel. I hate this. I hate pumping myself. Check out my YouTube channel, which is just Courage Barbell. I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you hear the podcast, so subscribe to it or follow it or whatever. Check out my Instagram. I only got like 4,000. I need to get that up.
Let's
which
get
is
him to
just
5.
Chad Ikes. Yeah, at least 5. And
go.
couragebarbell.com, pick up some apparel, stickers, water bottles, shorts, which Kolb said the shorts I sent him, he's like, dude, these are the best shorts I've ever had. So
that's high praise for Jimmy.
And I think the 800, I think the only reason he got it for so many was because he had on Courage Barbell shorts.
That makes sense.
That's the total secret.
They're alcoholic.
Amber, thank you so much for being on. Hopefully you're going to be back on. We're doing a quote. I don't care. You're doing a quote one with me.
Yeah, sorry. Non-negotiable. I'm here for it.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit couragebarbell.com. Until next time.